What is up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. If you've been following me for a little while, actually I don't even know if I ever said that we were coming here, but anyway, I'm in New Mexico. There were about 3 used bookstores here in Taos that I really wanted to visit. I did go to 2 of them earlier today. I went to Brodsky Bookshop first, which is owned, I think it was owned by him. He was the guy running it. Like an older gentleman, very sweet. He knew a lot about the books that I was buying. Arrived at my first bookstore, Brodsky Books, something like that. So this was the closest one. I lucked out. One of them is only 2 miles away, and then the other 2 are less than a mile away. I honestly probably could have walked. There is nothing in particular that I'm looking for, just anything that speaks to me. You guys know I'm doing this Reading Around the World challenge. So if I do find like an international section of books, I will definitely hit that up. Otherwise, I have no idea.
You're giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, but I don't wanna jinx it, baby. Let's not get ahead of my time.
Ooh, okay, we are back from Brodsky Books. The man in there was so sweet. Shout out to him if he ever sees this. We had a little conversation about Joy Harjo. I got 3 books. I've actually already read this. I listened to the audiobook, but it's so good, and I want to have her stuff like in physical copy. One about New Mexico. I'll go deeper into these later. And then this one was fiction. Joy is nonfiction. And then this has been on my TBR for so long, and I never did read it. It's like about the hippies. Alright, I just pulled up 2 great used books. It's literally like a little cabin. It's really cute.
$silver and champagne for the trouble. It's a t-shirt in the back seat of your car. Head down just like your father taught you. Stick around when the walls start to fall. Good God, does anybody notice you sat at the table and you listened to her scream? I know we've had a few too many. I'm not sure what to believe. Beauty queens and rock and rollers, crystal glasses, Coca-Cola. Nice to meet ya, nice to know ya. Better have listened to all that they told ya. They took notes and put you on a pedestal. I'm Simon, I'm on my knees. Why are you so quiet, darling? Don't you know what this all means? Beauty queens and rock and rollers, crystal.
Okay, it is getting hot. I'm gonna go back to the hotel, but I also found 2 in this bookstore. So, and the lady here, she was super nice. There was a kitty cat, and anyway, she said the 2 that I picked, she has read before and she enjoyed. So she said I made good choices. So that's good to know. I am back from all of my book shopping, so now it is time for a little haul. So first up was Brodsky Books. It's a pretty small little place. You know how you walk in and it feels like maybe it was like a house at one point in time? It was kind of that sort of vibe. I wasn't going in for anything specific. I did get 2 things from Brodsky Bookshop. I was trying to find something that specifically had to do with either Taos or New Mexico, and something that looked interesting that wasn't like just kind of a basic history of the town that I could maybe Google, was this novel called Getting New Mexico by Raina St. Clair. This was actually somebody he said, the shop owner said that he didn't know much about her. This is about a man, the main character is named Aaron Schuyler. He's a drunk, he's from New York, he basically just doesn't have his shit together is kind of what it seems like. It says New Mexico is about to change everything about him in this fresh and witty comedy of second chances and redemption. It says it's a comedy, and that's kind of what originally struck me about it, because I don't really read comedies. Like that's not the norm for me by any means. So this might be kind of like a breath of fresh air for me. So his mom's name is Clementine, and she kind of gives him this ultimatum, like, I'll bail you out of jail this one time if you come to New Mexico. I assume that's where she lives, and takes a job at the local Sam's Club, which I thought was just like so random. It just sounds kind of like a mother-son bonding family, you know, somebody who's like having a midlife crisis getting his life back together again type of situation. So anyway, and what I thought was really funny was that in the blurb, or not the blurb, in the dedication, it says, "This book is dedicated to all the employees of Sam's Club, New Mexico." So I'm kind of wondering if the author was like an employee there, and then she wrote this book, and it's almost like semi-autobiographical. Very well could be. I don't know, but I guess I might find out. And then I also picked up Crazy Brave by Joy Harjo. I have read this before. Well, I've listened to it on audio. It's so good. Her voice is just like gravelly, not gravelly, but like a nice kind of husky voice for a woman. So I actually do highly recommend the audiobook. This was 5 stars for me. This is her memoir. She actually has 2 memoirs. This is her first one. And then her second one is Poet Warrior, I believe, which I've also read. If you're just like completely unfamiliar with who she is, she was born and raised in Oklahoma, and then she did come here to New Mexico to study, I think it was art, either art or literature. She's also a musician. She plays the saxophone. She's written a couple of plays, mostly poetry. So yes, she's most famous for being the Poet Laureate of the United States. She's actually been the Poet Laureate twice, which is crazy. I just saw this and I thought, you know what, I need a physical copy on my shelf, even though I've already listened to it and I don't plan on rereading it anytime soon. It's about 170 pages. It is a bit dark. I want to say it was either her, I can't remember if it was her father or her stepfather, but there was definitely some abuse in there, and I want to say she was like a young mother. If you're looking for like a new Native American voice, or like a Native American story to kind of sink your teeth into, I do recommend all of her work, but particularly her autobiography. So those were the 2 from Brodsky Bookshop. Oh, okay, just kidding. A third one that I picked up from Brodsky Bookshop was Tom Wolfe's The Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test. This just looks like one of the funnest books I might ever read. This is nonfiction, and it's basically about the hippies. It's Tom Wolfe's dissection of the 1960s America, essentially. I've had this on my TBR for so long. It's a solid 400 pages. Let me see when this came out, because I don't actually know. I don't think that I've actually read any Tom Wolfe before. His name is super familiar, but I can't think of anything that I've maybe read by him before. So this was originally published in 1968, so he was like actively writing about the time that he was living in, which is kind of cool. So it's not like a retrospective type of novel. It was like written in the time. It looks like, just from the table of contents, there's a little bit about the FBI in here. Maybe Buddha, acid, which that makes sense. Hell's Angels. I'm very interested. The whole like 1960s, 1970s whole era, that entire decade or 2 in America is really fascinating to me. Just everything that was happening culturally and socially is just like, it's kind of crazy. So anyway, this one's been on my TBR for forever. So now I have a physical copy. So I'm really excited for this one. That was my actual last one from Brodsky Bookshop. And then from Great Used Books, which is in the Pioneer Plaza. It's not really, Brodsky Bookshop is like in downtown Taos. Great Used Books was not. It was very much like kind of outside of town, maybe like a 7-minute drive, not too bad. If you're like staying in Taos. It was independently owned. I assume it was maybe owned by the older woman who was like behind the desk. So maybe it's female owned too, so that's always cool. But anyway, the first thing that I picked up when I was in the store, sort of towards the front of the door, like right when you first walk in, there was a short little half shelf of like Native American books. And I've told you guys this before on my channel. I'm always looking for like not necessarily new Native voices, but just more like Native American literature. Louise Erdrich is not a new Native American voice by any means. She's been around for decades. In fact, this is probably like a relatively old book because I think this was her first novel. It's actually the first in a series. This is Love Medicine. Yeah, this was originally copywritten in 1984. So it's not like she's a new voice, but I don't think I've ever read her before. Actually, that's not true. I read The Future Home of the Living God years ago, maybe like 2018, something like that, around the time when it came out, because I remember reading it in hardcover. Do I remember anything about it particularly? Not really. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't want to read her again. It just says it's the stunning first novel in her Native American series. It tells the story of two families, the Cash-Paws and the La Martins. Written in Erdrich's uniquely poetic, powerful style, it is a multi-generational portrait of strong men and women caught in an unforgettable drama of anger, desire, and the healing power that is love medicine. So it's basically like a family. It's just a family drama. Honestly, those typically aren't the books that I gravitate towards. Sometimes there's just not quite enough in the plot there for me. Somebody who's a big fan of like science fiction and kind of like more speculative fiction. But I am really interested in diving into Erdrich just because she is such a prolific Native American author, and I'm just not really familiar with her work. So that was Love Medicine. And then the next one that I picked up was from the science fiction section, and I cannot remember for the life of me if I have read this book or if I have DNF'd this book, like attempted it at an earlier point in time and then DNF'd it. So we're gonna find out. But this is Heinlein, Stranger in a Strange Land. It's one it's been on my TBR for like years and years and years, just because it's such a classic science fiction story. This is the uncut version. I did not realize there was like a normal shorter version, but anyway, this is the uncut version, so that's cool. It says, raised by Martians on Mars, Valentine Michael Smith is a human who has never seen another member of his species. Sent to Earth, he is a stranger who must learn what it is to be a man, but his own beliefs and his powers far exceed the limits of humankind, and as he teaches grokking and water sharing, he also inspires a transformation that will alter Earth's inhabitants forever. So, I mean, I totally understand why it like is kind of a classic science fiction work now. It says there were some 60,000 words cut from the original manuscript that came out in 1961, and it says they are at last taking their rightful place in the body of world literature. That's a quote from Vonnegut. The Boston Globe says the book was destined to become a bestseller, shaping the sensibilities of a generation. The uncut novel more explicitly exhibits the author's views on human sexuality, women's issues, and geopolitics. I think that's something that I like about science fiction so much, is like they're basically just commenting on humanity and like human society, even though sometimes we're talking about aliens and Martians. We're also like really just diving deeper into like human politics and humanity. I don't know any time when I will actually get to this. She is quite thick, a little over 500 pages. But it is, I feel like if I'm gonna say that I'm like a fan of science fiction, this just needs to be one that I have read in order to say that. So that is my little haul, my 5 little books from these local shops in Taos. Definitely recommend. What is up, guys? It is a couple of days later, so I'm popping in here from the future really quickly. I wanted to pop in here and tell you I did go to a third bookstore, so I initially had the 3 in mind, but on our last morning there we wanted to go out for a nice breakfast. We'd already eaten at De La Tierra, which is like the restaurant on site at the hotel. So we went to Bent Street Grill, which I do really recommend. I don't know what they put in their waffles, but it was delicious. And then John had, I think he had just like a classic American breakfast, like eggs and bacon and potatoes and that kind of thing. I get there, you know, we're ordering, you know, I get a little iced latte and I'm just kind of looking around, super cute like patio space. And I look up, and literally like maybe 20 or 30 steps from our little outside table is Opposite Books. I don't even know if that's totally how you say it. It's like a Latin phrase. It's shortened. It means like in the works cited. It's like opera a paracitato or something like that. So it's like a bookish reference. Anyway, it was so nice in there. I just went in briefly. We were kind of ready to, you know, ready to get on the road. We had, you know, quite the drive back home. So I didn't spend too long in there. I want to say it's all new stuff. It didn't look like a used bookstore. It looked like a new bookstore. I wish I would have had a little bit longer to devote to it. I just got a few pictures and a couple clips of a few books that I had never seen before that sounded really interesting, that I went ahead and put on my TBR. I didn't end up getting anything from this bookstore, but highly recommend that restaurant. So you could go and have a nice meal at Bench Street Grill and then literally walk like 20 steps to this cute little bookstore. So that would be a really fun thing to do if you're there and you're bookish like me and you want to go to some of the bookstores. And even though I didn't get anything, it was really cute in there. She was busy. She was popping. Like she was doing a lot of sales. So anyway, I definitely recommend Opposite Books as well. If you guys have read any of these, let me know what you thought. Like I said, I can already recommend Crazy Brave since I have read that one before. But you guys let me know if you've read the other ones, what you thought of them, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye guys.